Welcome to the Off Cooldown podcast, a podcast where we talk about video games. I'm Cal.
I'm Q.
And I'm Newt.
So we're back today with our first Hotkey episode, where we give out our hot takes on various gaming topics. Thanks to Valve releasing the Nemesis Battle Pass, we've decided to talk about Battle Passes today. So, first off, what is a Battle Pass? Basically, it's a type of monetization that provides additional content for a game through a tiered system, rewarding players with in-game items for playing the game and completing specific challenges. So, Q will give us a short history on the battle passes.
Okay, so I think one of the first battle passes that became popular was probably Valve's the Dota 2 battle pass during the TI 2013. It was called the Compendium back then, I think, and it gave a bunch of unique exclusive items and other things to the players that purchased it and then could grind out levels. We saw another thing like that in, I think, TF2. They had these things called campaign passes, and the battle pass kind of became a staple throughout Valve's TI history, through every major their biggest tournament of the year. But what really popularized the battle pass monetization system was probably a mixture of, well, I think was a mixture of two things. The first one was loot boxes. Around the time that Overwatch and FIFA became controversial for loot boxes in the middle of 2018, Fortnite had come out with their own battle pass system, which became incredibly financially successful. So I think that's what prompted a lot of companies to start to pick up the battle pass system from there.
And yeah, it's also important to note though that even though some companies have implemented battle passes in their games, doesn't mean that loot boxes disappeared entirely. Actually, Valve is very notorious for having both of them in their battle passes, and
I think
it's actually worse, right? Because some of the games have like general loot boxes that you can earn from their battle passes or from regular gameplay, but in Valve they actually have seasonal loot boxes that only appears for that specific battle pass for that season.
I mean, it's not just Valve that does that sort of thing. I feel like it's starting to become a bit more of a standard in terms of monetization, where they have like event loot boxes. Like, those haven't really gone away, but battle passes have kind of become, I think, a more staple more than loot boxes have, where people would spend money on the battle pass and earn loot boxes through the battle pass these days, rather than just straight up buy loot boxes.
And I think it's a safer route for these publishers and developers to take for monetizing their games, because you can't argue that it's gambling. Not like in loot boxes where you don't really know what you're getting for each loot box that you're opening. In battle passes, they're pretty transparent on what kind of rewards you'll be getting throughout the season, or for what kind of rewards you'll be getting when you level up your battle pass. So it's not really gambling. You actually know what you're getting. But I think what really makes battle passes successful is because it makes you feel this, what you call FOMO, the feeling of missing out. And yeah.
Yeah, I feel like battle passes also kind of feel like setting goals for yourself. Like every week I have to play this type of mode. I have to play this character. So I feel like instead of just giving you a random prize, it's also setting goals for you as a player. So that makes it easier to stomach.
It's also a bit of a double-edged sword, in my opinion, because yes, it does set you up with goals, but in a lot of these games, you don't get to decide exactly what those goals are. The game decides it for you, like whether it be through random quests. Like, they have a pool of quests, and then they'll assign that to you randomly. Sometimes it doesn't necessarily align with your goals as a player. Like, you have to end up playing characters or game modes that you normally wouldn't really be interested in playing because of these battle pass systems incentivizing you to do so, which, it's both a good thing and a bad thing, because it makes you explore different aspects or different characters in the games that you normally wouldn't look at. But at the same time, it forces you to play these things, which means that if you're just not interested in them, it could just end up spoiling the experience somewhat for you.
And also there's like a feeling of, once you already bought the battle pass, you feel like you're forced, or like you feel like you're supposed to be playing the game.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to miss out on what you already paid for. It's a sunk cost. So I sometimes recognize that I won't be taking or getting my money back whatever I do, or however much I play the game. But you want to make the most out of your battle pass that you already spent money on. in Filipino we have this term masulit. So we want to make sure that our expenses or the things we paid for are sulit. So we make sure that once we buy the battle pass, we get the most out of it, right? So it also forces you to play the game even more. So that's a double-edged sword. I think it prevents me personally from playing other games because I wanna get all of the rewards from, for example, from the Nemestis battle pass. So that will require me to spend a lot of hours of playtime for that game specifically, and that takes away time from me playing on the PS5, the shiny new PS5 that I got last month. And yeah, it kind of spoils the experience of playing sometimes because it becomes a chore instead of like something that you really want to do.
Yeah, but that same thing is also kind of a win-win for the devs, because not only are you paying them up front for the battle pass, you're also putting in so much more game time, which kind of, I don't know if it's just me, but the longer I play a game, the more invested I get into it, right? It kind of makes me want to spend more, so I feel like I can personalize my gameplay the way I want it to, whether it just be cosmetics or in some cases like being able to unlock new characters. Sometimes they're tiered behind some of these monetization methods. So yeah, not only do you spend more game time on it, you spend more money on it, and it's kind of just a vicious cycle. Because by the time you're done, when you're burnt out, the next battle pass comes out. There's a new one. Do it again.
And speaking of monetization, how much money these companies earn from their battle passes? Actually, they don't create a new game, but they earn money as if they just release a new game and people are playing their game over and over again. And for half the development costs, I'd imagine, because they're not creating a new game from a new engine or whatever. They're just making new cosmetics to put into the battle pass that they just released. So a lot of these examples that we can see later, we've discussed different kinds of battle passes, but no two battle pass I think are the same. So we can talk about different kinds of battle passes. I think one of the things that we can talk about is from Apex Legends, the battle pass of Apex Legends. Can you as someone who plays Apex Legends almost daily, can you tell us more about it, Q?
Okay, so the Apex Legends Battle Pass has been a thing ever since the game first released. They had this preseason thing, but then when their first season arrived in early 2019, I think it was around March, they already had the Battle Pass system. So you would pay upfront. In this case, the Apex Battle Pass costs 950 Apex coins, which is their premium currency. Roughly translates to 500 pesos it's 500 pesos for 1,000 coins. So you get 50 off to the side. For completing the Battle Pass, you gain all of your premium currency back and a small amount of profit. The older battle passes gave you back 1,000, so you would have like an extra 50 coins profit. But the later battle passes actually grant you more than that. So I think you have 300 or 250 Apex coins premium currency in profit. So the Apex Legends battle pass, similar to many other battle passes, when you purchase it, they give you a small set of cosmetics. They give you a few skins for your new guns, and then you have to level up the battle pass to get all the goodies along the way. They follow the 2-track system where you have the free battle pass and you have the paid battle pass. Even if you don't purchase it, you can still level the battle pass and you can get the free rewards that are along that track. And then if you purchase the battle pass, you retroactively gain all of the premium battle pass rewards afterwards. The way that the battle passes level in Apex Legends is through quests, or challenges as they're called in the game, which refresh on the daily, as well as on top of that they have a pool of weekly challenges. And these challenges are usually things that involve dealing a certain amount of damage, playing a certain character, getting a certain number of knockdowns with the character, or getting a certain number of kills in a specific game mode. So it really encourages you to vary your gameplay. But the Apex Legends Battle Pass, I think, comes with two major flaws, in my opinion. And the first one being that characters in Apex Legends aren't all unlocked immediately. And some of the quests that you get every week or every day are specifically tied to a certain character, a certain legend. So if you haven't unlocked that, you're actually being barred from progressing your Battle Pass for that day or for that quest until such time that you have unlocked that character. And the other glaring flaw I see with the Battle Pass is the fact that all of the goodies, like all the meat and potatoes of it, it's hidden all the way at the end of the levels. Like the early levels, they'll give you things like banner frames, which will just appear for a brief moment at the beginning, or if you win the game. They also appear on your death box, so people can see your fancy banner frame after you've already lost the game. But all of the good skins for characters and weapons, they're near the end of the Battle Pass. And all of the really, really good skins, they appear in the middle of the Battle Pass season in an event called a collection event. These are events where you can unlock very premium kind of skins for characters, legendary level skins, which will they come in usually in a pool of 24, and they're completely separate from the Battle Pass. These collection events have all the good stuff, and you have to actually buy loot boxes to unlock them. Loot boxes are 700 Apex coins each, so they cost almost as much as the Battle Pass for a small chance of getting what you want. If you want to buy the skin individually, you can either choose to pay 1,800 premium currency, or you can use your hard-earned crafting materials, which also come from loot boxes, by the way.
So actually, if you're a new player in Apex Legends, would you recommend buying all of the agents first before getting the Battle Pass? Like it sounds like that's the smart thing to do when you're playing Apex Legends for the first time.
It's not necessarily a requirement, because thankfully the Battle Pass can be completed without finishing all of the challenges. It doesn't demand too much.
All right. Sorry. You have
Yeah,
something
I
more
remember
to say?
that. I think 2 seasons ago, out of the 90-day season of a Battle Pass, I missed around 40 days, and I still managed to finish the Battle Pass.
Hey, that's all well and good. And from what I'm hearing, actually, in the Apex Legends, Battle Pass, one of the good things about it is it's, what do you call this? It's retroactive, which isn't the case for all Battle Passes that we're gonna be talking about today. And one such Battle Pass like that is the Genshin Impact Battle Pass. It's not as hard hitting when it comes to FOMO than other Battle Passes that we're talking about today, because every season of Battle Pass that Genshin Impact provides, it has the exact same rewards each time. So it does have exclusive rewards that are tied to the Battle Pass, but it's the same one for every month. So you don't really have to worry about missing out. If you can't afford it this month, you can look forward to buying it next month and then getting it for next month, and then not worrying about getting it this month, but it still requires you to purchase it multiple times, because how weapons work in Genshin Impact is you have to have multiple copies of the same weapon just so that you can max out its stats. And that means, since these weapons can only be gotten from the Battle Pass, that means for each weapon that is in that Battle Pass, you'll have to get multiple copies of it. So I think in a year, you'll have to subscribe 5 times in the Battle Pass of Genshin Impact to be able to fully maximize one of its weapons. And you only get 1 copy of that weapon for each month. And there are like 4 weapons in that Battle Pass that you can get.
Another thing that I think separates Genshin's Battle Pass from the other Battle Passes in our list is that it has gameplay implications, because it doesn't give you cosmetics. It gives you weapons that you actually use in the game. It gives you growth materials like the in-game currency, the cards that you use to level up your characters, and the items that you use to level up their skills. So as much as it does have gameplay implications, Genshin being a largely single-player game, or a game that you can choose to play entirely single-player, I think the Battle Pass just speeds up your character's progression, especially because the weapons at the end of the Battle Pass, or in the weapons that you get from the Battle Pass, aren't anywhere nearly as strong as they used to be when Genshin first started out. Like, I remember playing Genshin up until the Meteorite event religiously. Like, I never missed a day, and I had basically maxed out all my characters. I was at the forefront of AR at the time, and you didn't really necessarily need all of the materials that you get from the Battle Pass. You didn't need those growth materials, but there were a couple of weapons at the time that were the best in slots. So if you really wanted to be ahead of the game, you kind of needed the Battle Pass. But power creep kind of took over, and they're just not as important anymore.
Yeah, there are a lot of free weapons in Genshin Impact that you can get that are way stronger than the weapons that are locked behind the Battle Pass. And actually, these weapons, they have specific what do you call this? They're tailored fit. They're tailor fit for specific characters, and each character have a different kind of weapon that fits their playstyle. So if you don't actually have the characters that will need those weapons, you shouldn't feel too concerned about not having those Battle Pass weapons.
But on top of that, I think something we have to mention about Genshin is the fact that it has a Battle Pass. but it's already a gacha game. So it already has a very aggressive monetization system where that you have to roll for characters and weapons that you want. And on top of that, like most people, aside from buying the battle pass, they're also probably on the Welkin Moon, which is like this thing where you pay every month to gain materials that you use to pull for weapons and characters in the game. So it's already a very aggressive monetization system. Not only is it a gacha with the monthly card, they also have a battle pass on top of that, and also dailies that you have to log into regardless of whether you have the battle pass or not. You have to invest, a lot of time and money to really get the most out of the game if you want to play, like at the forefront of Genshin.
So actually, Genshin Impact is a very grindy game that you can play single player, but really getting that battle pass almost makes it a necessity if you have a lot of characters that you want to, upgrade and level up. But if you stick to just like a core team of 4 characters, you might not need it actually. But given how the game is structured, you'll have to have at least 8 characters to max out. And I think if you've been playing right from the start and haven't bought any of the Welkin Moons or the Primo Gems or the Battle Passes, then good for you. But getting one, I think, is also fine because it really saves you a lot of time from the grinding, which is, one of the least fun aspects of games. But I think Genshin Impact's monetization practices are somewhat healthier compared to other games because it's not really predatory. I feel like they're priced really well, in my opinion, and it doesn't really put it on your face like other games. Like, oh, we have a battle pass that you really have to buy it now. It doesn't really put it in front of your face like other games do.
I mean, I get that it's a discussion for another time, but yes, while the battle pass of Genshin isn't necessarily predatory, the rest of the game's monetization definitely is. Like, it would be a bit much. I think they would really be pushing it if they decided to go with one of the more aggressive monetization schemes in what's already a gacha game, right? It's like, if they decided to lock cosmetics and more important gameplay things behind the battle pass, it would cause way more uproar.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like it being a gacha game already and then also having a battle pass is kind of a bit much for me. I mean, I'm not really big into gacha games, but hearing that it also has a battle pass is already making me even more cautious.
But I'd still like to convince you, Cal, to at least give it a try. Because battle pass aside, Welkin Moon aside, gacha aside, I feel like Genshin Impact is a great game. And I think it's actually really, ironic how the game is mostly single player and yet people feel compelled to spend so much money on Genshin Impact. Have you guys heard that Genshin Impact made tons of money in less than a month last year when it came out?
Yeah, I heard that it more than doubled its development costs. Like, in the first few weeks, it was like 100 million, I think, if I recall the figure correctly. But yeah, I do agree that you can give Genshin Impact a try. Just make sure to be mindful of not being so... Because the way that they rope you in really is with the new characters, like the interesting character designs or the good character voice acting and all that fancy stuff. But the base game is solid. And I think that's what I like and what I really dislike about it, is that the gameplay is solid, but at the same time, it's an endless gacha game with power creep. Whereas since I'm the kind of person who kind of wants to be, at the top of my game, especially when it comes to games with optimization, Genshin has a lot of that, but all of that optimization is hidden behind RNG, whether you roll the right weapons, whether you roll the right characters, and even the stuff that you grind every day by spending your stamina points in the game. Like, you have to grind for artifacts that have random stats, and you just kind of have to hope that you get the right ones.
And actually, one of the things in Genshin Impact is that, okay, I forgot what I was gonna say. It's mostly single player, right? And then you still feel compelled to play it, to spend money on it. And a lot of people criticize it for stealing a lot of ideas from Breath of the Wild previously. But this is really off topic already of the battle pass system. But to just giving out praise to Mihoyo, they really developed the game way past from just being a Breath of the Wild clone since it launched last year, and doing that without actually collaborating with any other IPs to make it really popular. So it really just went off all by itself, and people really love the game. That's why they're spending so much money on the game right now.
I just want to give one more point that for me, I don't think that the comparison for Breath of the Wild was a proper one, because as much as it had the exploration, it had the same visual style. At its core, Genshin was really more of more of like an action game than it was Breath of the Wild. It didn't really have that the same essence of adventure that Breath of the Wild did in any way. It felt like I was compelled to explore because there was a collectathon to be had for the most part, and that collectathon would help me, do combat better. So yeah, Genshin's
Okay.
Battle Pass, it's okay. like it's I think it's the only one on this list that has gameplay implications instead of
Mm.
cosmetic implications. But it's
Okay.
not really a necessary thing, and it's definitely not their main monetization.
But wouldn't you agree that Rainbow Six Siege's Battle Pass kinda have some gameplay implications given that their agents kind of like unlocks earlier with the Battle Pass?
Well, Rainbow Six actually used to have a different method of unlocking the latest releases. So before they had the Battle Pass, they had this thing called a Year Pass, which is basically your game season pass, kind of like your DLC, the one big purchase that includes all the DLC. Except that Siege's method of release was every year they would release uh, in 4 quarters. So there would be 4 releases every year that would include new agents slash they're called operators in the game. So new characters, new maps, and new cosmetics and all of that. So when you bought the year pass, which I think was around 40 USD or 50 USD at the time, you would unlock as the new releases came out, you would get the new releases. They would give you some premium currency to spend on cosmetics, and they would give you a couple of cosmetics as well. And they would also give you some boosters for your the amount of in-game currency that you earn. Recently they made the shift over, I think in the last 2 quarters, so like maybe the last 4 months or so, they've made the shift over from the season pass. At some point they had both the season pass, and then they tried out this small battle pass. So you bought the season pass for the operators and the premium currency, and they also had this battle pass on top of that. It was a really short battle pass, only 35 levels, and it just had cosmetics in it. So there was a free track and there was a premium track. If you decided to buy the season pass, it did not come with the new battle pass, but you did get a discount for purchasing the battle pass, and you would also gain 30% increased XP for your battle pass if you owned the season pass. Like I know I'm saying the word pass a lot, it must be pretty confusing. But they had a really weird system then. So you had the season pass to unlock the latest gameplay content every time it came out, and you had the new cosmetics that would come out in the battle pass, which you would have to grind out anyway. So recently they made the shift over from the hybrid season pass battle pass to just the battle pass. So there are now four battle passes that come quarterly, and each of them cost $10. So it costs just as much as the season pass, except that you can now decide which ones to buy. And when you buy a battle pass, you gain first and foremost, you unlock the new operator that comes out with the season. You get a bunch of cosmetics, and yeah, you unlock the battle pass, so you can grind that out. The main gameplay implication that Newt was talking about was that previously when you owned the season pass, you would have access to all of the new operators 7 days before the other people could even buy them. So if you had the season pass, you had the operators, and after 7 days, the people could buy that same character using either in-game currency or premium currency. And the same thing is true for the battle pass. So you have 7 days to try out and play the new operator, but honestly, it never made that much of an impact, I think, on the game in terms of like competitive gameplay. It just means that if you bought the season pass, if you bought the battle pass, you're not going to be fighting, you're not going to be fighting with your other teammates to see who gets to pick the character first, because whoever paid for the battle pass or for the season pass could play it for 7 days before other people got to buy it.
And actually, one of the allures of the Rainbow Six Siege Battle Pass is, aside from getting the operator unlocked when you buy the Battle Pass, you also get lots of these cool new cosmetics for that new character. So you can flaunt your Battle Pass to other people by showing them not only having the character, which other people could just buy using the in-game currency normally, but there's the cosmetics. There are the cosmetics that are locked behind the paywall that's specific for that new operator. So you get extra bling for the operator just by getting the battle pass for the new season.
Another thing that I like about the battle pass of Rainbow Six is their progression system, because while a lot of other battle passes make use of these sort of quests and challenge style where you have to do a very specific thing or use a specific character, Rainbow Six grants you points for your battle pass just for playing a match. You get points for playing ranked matches, you get a different amount of points for playing quick play, which is like their most basic mode. Then you have the ranked and unranked modes, which are generally longer games. You get more points for that. You get more points for for winning matches. You get points for losing matches, and you get points for winning rounds within those matches. So you just really have to play the game consistently. And I hear that, like, I'm not much of an avid player myself anymore, but I hear that even just around 2 hours a day, or maybe 3 to 5 games a day with a bit more on the weekends, is more than enough to finish the battle pass, even without any of the EXP boosters or anything like that.
That actually sounds very friendly to the player base. Like, comparing it to the Dota 2 Battle Pass, it seems like even just playing will get you points. Because, like, I recently bought the Nemesis Battle Pass, right? But I only bought it level 1 this time. And it's like, I've already been playing 6 hours, but unluckily, so we weren't winning a lot of the games, so I didn't get a lot of progress. So I feel like battle passes that allow you to get points by just playing is a bit more friendly than battle passes that actually require you to win.
Yeah, but I think that's the advantage of a lot of the battle passes that we're talking about today. And we'll definitely get into detail and the nitty-gritties of our thoughts on the Dota battle pass in a bit, because there's definitely a lot to say about them.
But these battle passes actually really bring in a lot of money. You mentioned that Rainbow Six Siege's battle pass is just $10. You said it's just $10, but you come to think of it, $10 you can buy lots of new indie games out there for just $10. And although we're not saying that it's not worth it, you spend your money whatever way you spend it, but it really just goes to show how profitable these battle passes are for these companies. And one example of the most profitable battle passes out there is Fortnite's. Well, we're not gonna say that Fortnite's battle pass is more predatory compared to other games, but its audience, kids and teenagers, they're the most susceptible to these kinds of practices. They feel FOMO more than others because if you have friends in school that have these cool new cosmetics in Fortnite, you'd want to have them too. You'd be envious of having those skins, those cool new cosmetics. And especially since Epic Games has all of these collaborative events with all of these other IPs, it actually extends its reach and its base because, if you're also a Marvel fan, you'd want to buy the new Battle Pass if it has, for example, I think the latest that I can remember is Deadpool. If you wanted to play as Deadpool, you'll have to get the Battle Pass. Right now, I think if you're a fan of Rick and Morty, you could get the Battle Pass, and when you reach level 100 in the Battle Pass, you'll get to play as Rick. So it's very alluring. The Fortnite Battle Pass is very alluring. And Fortnite earns a lot of money from this, that they can afford to lose millions of dollars to get exclusive games and free games on the Epic Games Store. And they earn so much from it that they're willing to take Apple and Google to court just to maximize their mobile game earnings. And yeah, it's really profitable.
No, I mean, I guess Fortnite was really the first one to have perfected, quote-unquote, the formula of the Battle Pass, since they were the ones who really hugely popularized it at the time that loot boxes kind of fell off in popularity. So, yeah, like, I do agree, though, that Fortnite, as much as everything you get out of it from the Battle Pass is purely cosmetic, right? None of these things have any gameplay implications similar to a lot of the things on the list, save for maybe Genshin Impact and Siege, but even those ones have workarounds. With Genshin just being that you have to trade in time, more time to get the same materials, or Siege being like after a week, you can just buy it using in-game currency. But yeah, I gotta hammer home the point. The player base of Fortnite is very, very susceptible to this FOMO stuff, and I think that's exactly why they keep doing it. Like, not only do you end up spending more money because they're paired up with these IPs that you care about, you also end up spending more time because of how much time you actually have to spend to grind out your battle passes. But I don't think that I wouldn't really say that it's any more or less predatory than the other ones on this list, because I feel like at the end of it all, we're only paying for cosmetics, right? For most of these battle passes, you're really just in it for the cosmetics, which don't really affect gameplay.
Yeah, maybe if you could grief the opponent, like showing off that you have Superman, they get envious and jealous, like gonna make them lose their mind. That's the most gameplay implication that these skins have, these cosmetics. So they're totally optional. You don't really need to get them to get onto the game, but a part of it is showing off that you have the money, first of all, but also it's the only way that you can show off your progress in these kinds of games, because you don't really have a level in Fortnite. You can show off
Yeah,
that you've been you can show off
there's
that
no
you've
like
been
skill
playing.
progression and all that.
You can show off that you've been playing for how long has Fortnite been? For like 4 years, without showing off your old skins. Like, it's one of the things that makes some of the skins very in demand. Like, there are skins that were released in year one that Epic Games really just refuses to re-release, because it's kind of like a status symbol for some of these players that, oh, I have this skin, so I've been here since the start, so I'm kind of like better than you for some reason or another. It's a sort of key for progression for some of these players.
But I feel like in these types of games, because if you notice the kind of games that we're talking about today, save for Genshin Impact, they tend to be, PvP focused sort of games that every single game is the same thing from beginning to end. Where at the beginning of the game you have a fresh start, you have no like it's not like games where you have permanent progression, where you have levels where that would affect your actual gameplay. When you start a new game of Dota, you're back to zero. When you start a new game of Siege, everyone's back to zero. Like, you have all the same items that anyone else in your place would have, right? So the only form of progression that they can actually give players is meta progression. These levels, these exclusives, these cosmetics, because the game itself doesn't have that system baked into the mechanics. So in order to keep the game fresh in the minds of some players, they have to shake up the meta. That's one thing. But on the other hand, they also just have to keep adding these cosmetics to kind of make things a bit different. Because at the end of the day, all these games, what's kind of common about most of them is that the gameplay loop is largely the same. It's that, you hop in the game of Dota, and every game is different because of how complex it is. But at the end of the day, you start from zero and you level up within this instance of game, and when that's over, none of that progression carries over to the next one.
It brings back a lot of memories whenever we play Dota and then we see that the enemy's Invoker has this dark artistry. Dark artistry skin. It doesn't really tell you that they're good, but you assume that they're good, because why would they spend thousands of pesos to buy that skin if they aren't good at Invoker, right? So there's that sort of social implications for these skins that kind of shows dominance, if you will.
But I feel like that's cosmetics in general, because even if it doesn't show experience or time with the game, it shows money, which is something, right?
It's like the literal power play. I have money,
Yeah.
you don't.
Yeah, like they could be the worst player in the world, but then they have like this 30,000 pesos set on their faceless boy, and you're like, wow, can't believe you spent that much money on a character you can't play.
Sometimes that's your consolation after losing. You may have lost the game, but you won the glam.
Yeah.
You have the money. You win in life. You lose in the game, but you win at life. But we're not
Okay.
like saying that if you have the money, you win at life automatically. It's just like kind of like a joke, small joke from us.
I think we're getting off topic here.
Yeah. But speaking of progression and how these battle passes can show off how long you've been playing the game, it's not implemented yet. But I think what really encapsulates that thought is, or that feeling from cosmetics, is how 343 Industries is planning to implement the Halo Infinite Lifetime Battle Pass. So if you haven't been hearing about the news because you're not interested in the Xbox or you're not a Microsoft fan, the next Halo game, Halo Infinite, will still have a paid single-player campaign, but its multiplayer game will be released free-to-play for everyone to enjoy. Just like how Call of Duty started releasing Warzone for free. Some of these games that used to lack the multiplayer alongside the single player game, it's becoming popular to release your multiplayer aspect of the game free to play. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. So in Halo Infinite, they are planning to implement a lifetime non-expiring battle pass, which means everyone's whenever you start playing Halo Infinite, whether you started from day one or you started a year after release, the same rewards you'll get are the same for example, for the first 100 levels. It will stay the same for eternity. So in terms of showing off your progression, some content or some cosmetics might be locked behind level 1000 or level 2000. Who knows how long or how far ahead the battle pass will be. You'd be effectively showing off how much of a veteran you are by what kind of cosmetics you have, because it shows off how much time you spent on the game, or how much money you've been spending on the game.
I think it's a really interesting take on it, but I don't really know how to feel about it yet. Because, for example, you can also show off your game age. Like, for example, if you're playing Apex Legends and you had a skin that was from Season 1, it means that you've been playing since Season 1, or it could actually mean that you only played Season 1 and then you stopped and then you came back for the new one because you wanted the skin here now. But I think with the new the Halo Infinite's plan to have this lifetime battle pass, it seems like a good thing and a bad thing, because it means that if you've been playing from the beginning, you have access to all of these skins. And like, let's say you're like level 2,500, level 5,000 on the battle pass. But if you're a new player coming in, right, and you want the skin at level 5,000, you'd have to spend so much time or so much money to get that skin. Whereas with the seasonal battle pass sort of thing, it's like I can decide that, I want to play now and I want to skip this next season, and then there's this skin I like in the next season. I can just buy that battle pass instead, right? As compared to let's say you joined Halo Infinite's multiplayer theoretically like 5 seasons down the line, but you want the skin from season 5. If it were a more seasonal type of game, right, you would decide that, I'll buy the season 5 battle pass. With Halo Infinite, I have to play through all of these rewards from season 1 before to get to that one.
So I still think that the battle pass, even if it's a lifetime battle pass in Halo Infinite, is still predatory in a way, right? Because you still have to spend money or play a lot of the game just to get the rewards. But I think it changes the driving factor from FOMO. You're not really fearing of missing out something because none of the cosmetics are time bound. You don't really feel pressured to play now or play X number of hours within this month just to get these cosmetics. It changes into something aspirational, like I want to get that skin, I want to get that cosmetic, so I have to spend this amount of hours in my lifetime to get there. So it kind of changes the motivating factor for players to play the game with the battle pass.
Yeah, I do see that, but at the same time, I think it does take away some of the player's choice, in the sense that with seasonal battle passes, like I mentioned earlier, they can just decide to play now because they want this thing. On one hand, yes, it's an exclusive, which means that it's more predatory in the sense that if you miss it, or like you don't have the time to play, or you don't have the money to buy it right now, you're good. It's gonna be gone forever. So like that's predatory in that sense. But also on the side of Halo Infinite, it means that I have to start grinding now if I want to be able to access all of these skins that come out later, because I'll be so far behind if I start late, right? So it's still kind of, in a way, I feel like if it were me, I would still be incentivized to just keep playing or keep spending until I hit that goal. And by the time I hit that goal, suddenly there's a new one. And it's because it's not exclusive, I just want to keep grinding for it. I want to keep spending for it. So I kind of don't know which one feels more predatory. I like the idea that these rewards aren't exclusive and that they'll come back, and that they'll just be there until you can get them. But at the same time, it feels like it still would incentivize a lot of people to spend a lot of money or a lot of time, or to really make this thing their routine just because they're grinding for that thing.
So, we don't know yet how they'll exactly implement the battle pass, but I just came up with a solution just now, just while we're talking right now, came up with a solution on how to solve that problem of, having the player agency. But to give that, it actually makes it more predatory. My idea is more predatory than what they're planning to implement right now. But what if, aside from the lifetime battle pass, you have a parallel seasonal battle pass that you can work for during this period of time? So you can choose. Oh, I'm gonna go back again, and probably if I after this battle pass season, I'll be closer to that aspirational level 1000 for that lifetime battle pass. But for now, I'll be working for this cool new cosmetic that's only available for like the next 2 months.
I have another idea to make these things less predatory. How about we just let people buy cosmetics from a store like they would in real life? None of these timed exclusives, none of these level grinds. Just let us buy what we want to buy when we want to buy it. What's wrong with that? I don't see why that's such a big issue.
It's gonna lose the money, Q, but don't tell them that. So yeah.
Speaking of that,
But yes.
I feel
uh-huh.
I feel like player retention is one of the main reasons for
Yeah,
Battle
that's
Pass.
true. That's true though. But on one hand, yes, you do manage to keep a bigger player base by causing them to come back every season, right? But at the same time, like for example in Apex, when I play, because of the battle passes, like the battle pass quests are sometimes very specific, like deal X amount of damage to this character. What happens is that somebody who's never played this character before picks the character, does X amount of damage, and leaves the game. Like when I'm playing unranked, because there's no penalty for leaving it unranked, that happens quite a lot. Like you end up with people trying out characters that, well, I guess that's a good thing, right? It diversifies your player base's character pool by making them try out new characters. But at the same time, it could also potentially ruin the experience for other people because these are multiplayer games at the end.
Now you just made me understand why you have to win in Cavern before you
Because otherwise you would just pick it and then lose, right?
leave. I see now. Okay, it makes
Speaking
sense.
of Cavern Crawl, I think that we can go to our main event, right? We can go right into the Dota 2 Nemesis Battle Pass, which is actually the reason that we decided to do this episode.
Yep. So first of all, I think one of the major things we have to discuss for this one is its main difference from the other battle passes, meaning this is the first Dota 2 battle pass that will give 0% to the esports scene, so it's not funding the DPC at all.
You know, it was so much easier to swallow before that Valve is taking our money away from us because you have the consolation that 25% of all of the earnings will go to the pro players that we want to support. And it was like like what I said, it's easier to swallow back then. But Nemesis, for the first time I think ever, is the first battle pass that will contribute $0 to TI-10, which I think is unfair, really unfair.
Yeah, it's also, this is the first battle pass I bought at level 1. I usually buy the 100, mostly because of that. Like, it feels really weird to just pay without the pros getting any percent of my money. Like, I get that TI-10 already had the battle pass last year because it got delayed, right? But why don't they just use this Nemesis battle pass earnings to fund next DPC? Especially since, like, tier 2, like, this is like slightly off topic already, but like the Dota 2 tier 2 scene is struggling. A lot of people are complaining about the distribution of prize money, how TI is like the one time big time, and if you don't get to TI, you're basically kinda really gonna struggle to survive as a pro. So I don't know, I'm not very happy with them changing that with the battle pass.
Yeah, they haven't really given us a reason for it, right? Like, I get that the pandemic's been hard for companies too, but this is Valve we're talking about. They own the biggest games distribution platform, period. Do they really need this much extra money? And what for? Like, I get it. They delayed TI-10, so that's been a logistical nightmare for them. And even now, they've had to move out of Sweden, which is also another big logistical nightmare for them. But I'm pretty sure that the money that they've been earning up until this point and the money that came from the TI-10 Battle Pass that was supposed to happen last year, it would have been more than enough. Like, they haven't really, have they told us? Because I haven't been able to see any reasoning why they're not giving the money to the pros.
Well, I guess they could argue that they've already implemented the supporter packs where you can actually directly support your favorite teams. But, you know, the money that you'll be getting from the prize pool would still be more important for these teams rather than the cut that they get from the supporters pass, which, frankly, doesn't really ensure that you'll be getting any money. Because if you're a less popular team, you're less likely to get any of those money. And to add more insult to injury is the fact that Valve announced that there's going to be more than one battle passes this year aside from this one. So they announced that this battle pass will not be the last battle pass for this year. And oh, by the way, this battle pass will not fund any of your pro teams. So yeah, it kind of really stinks a lot. Still bought it at level 100 though.
I think another thing on top of that is not only are we getting a second battle pass later this year, the duration of this battle pass is so much shorter than the other ones. This runs for 8 weeks, it runs for 2 months. And there's still a total, if you want to include every single unique reward, it's still 500 levels. If you want to get like the Davion butt emote, like it's still 500 levels.
And you know, prior to recording this episode, we were actually calculating how many levels you can get just by playing the game. just playing the battle pass, the free levels you could get from the cavern crawl and from the weekly quests. If the number of levels you're getting every week would remain consistent, then you'd get a max of 81 levels, I think. 80 to 81 levels. And the first major I'd say the first major cosmetic that you can get from the battle pass for Nemestis event is the Ninth Davion, which is at level 135, I think. No, sorry,
Isn't it
195.
195?
Yeah, level 195. So you're really forced to spend money on this battle pass to get all of the cool stuff. Unlike in other battle passes where you can really just grind it, all of the other battle passes we've been talking about, you can grind just by playing the games. Even if they have like daily quests or weekly quests, you can max them out without spending any extra cents. But I think this battle pass by Valve is so much more greedy. It's greedier compared to all the other battle passes we've discussed tonight.
And also a first from Valve is that so every year not every year, every TI, right? They have the Arcana vote, right? So people will vote on the next Arcana, which is like the top of the line skins that change a lot about the characters. This is the first time that we're getting the winner of the Arcana vote does not end up in the regular store, because normally the winner of the Arcana vote becomes an item that you can purchase at any time from the Valve store or off of the market, the third-party Steam market. For the first time, the Arcana vote winner, Spectre, is hidden behind the Battle Pass. It's a Battle Pass exclusive and will never appear after the Battle Pass is over. And, this is the first time they did that. And because there's a second Battle Pass coming this year, my assumption is that the second place winner, Faceless Void, will also have his Arcana hidden behind that secondary Battle Pass. So, in essence, assuming it's the same as the Nemestis Battle Pass, you're going to be buying 660 levels to get both of these Arcanas. Whereas previously, you could spend 1,400 pesos to buy one off the store and then grind the other one off of a Battle Pass, which, because of the duration and the rewards of those older Battle Passes, you could actually grind out, right?
Yeah, just to be clear, we're not saying that if you bought the Battle Pass, you're stupid or that you should be ashamed of yourself. We also bought the Battle... Well, Cal did, I did, Q didn't, out of principle. But,
No. It wasn't out of principle. It was just because I wouldn't be able to grind for the Spectre Arcana. That's it. Like, if I could have... If I knew that I could grind for it, I would buy it.
Yeah,
But even if I bought the level 100, I still couldn't grind for it, so I didn't buy it.
Yeah, but what I just wanted to highlight was this monetary scheme by Valve is really, really greedy. It goes to show how Valve as a corporation could, sustain itself without releasing a new game for a long time and still, be one of the most profitable video game companies in the world. If you think about it, the Spectre Arcana, which is locked behind the Battle Pass, I think it's not marketable, right? If you miss the Battle Pass, you have no way of buying it unless you get hold of someone else's account who has that skin,
Yeah.
right? Which is, I think, very predatory, because in the first place, even if you sell it in the secondary market, Valve still gets a cut. So why? They're just maximizing their profit at this point, and I really think while support from fans are still high on Valve, they enjoy really high popularity even if they do all of these predatory practices. It's just important for people to know how much they've been spending their money on all of these things.
Yeah, like it's very important to be mindful and realize just how much money we're spending on the Battle Passes. Like, again, what Newt said a while back, we can't really judge you, and we can't tell you what to and what not to spend your money on. Just be mindful of it. And this is more of a shout out to Valve. Stop being so greedy. Like, yeah, you've been better than that, and you can be better than that. Just because your player base, your customer base will eat into it, doesn't mean that you should push the limits of greed. Because at some point, if it gets to a point, that they push back, it could end disastrously for you. Like the loot box fiasco of FIFA and Overwatch when that turned on its head way back when.
Yeah, it's another thing that I wanted to bring up, since you mentioned loot boxes, is that Valve's Battle Passes also contains loot boxes. So, you have lots of monetization practices here in place. And aside from that, other Battle Passes that features loot boxes as their rewards, sometimes those loot boxes are regular loot boxes that you can get from the store or you can get from playing regularly in the game. But most of Valve's battle passes, the treasures that they have for the battle passes are exclusive for that season. So the immortal treasures are, locked behind these battle passes. You can't get them anytime else. They have treasures that you can gain or get from the secondary marketplace that aren't timed exclusives, but for their battle passes, the loot boxes that they have there are, locked behind those battle passes, exclusive for those battle passes.
And another thing about timed exclusive is that more than half, I think, well, if I did my math right, because I was just counting it manually, like yesterday, more than half of the battle pass rewards are seasonal rewards. They're seasonal stickers, seasonal sprays, seasonal effects, which means that after this battle pass is over, they're gone. Like, then none of these things are account permanent. You don't get to keep your ranged attack particle effects. You don't get to keep your teleport effects or your blink effects. These things have always been in the battle pass, but there's seemingly more of them in this one compared to the previous ones.
So yeah, Valves, please. We love you, but please stop being greedy. Please.
Yeah, you can do better. Do better, please.
We'll still buy your battle pass. Chill out. Don't make it so predatory, please, so that we can buy more of it, Make it easier to swallow for us, basically.
I also realized that because this battle pass isn't tied to a tournament, there's no pro player cards and there's no way to earn money from fantasy points.
Oh, yeah.
To earn battle pass points from
Like
fantasy.
no predictions or anything, because there's no
so-
tournament tied to this one.
So that used to be like a big point earner for me. Man,
So
now
I
I'm
guess
even more bummed.
yeah, the amount of levels you can get as a free to play is really, really low. I'm willing to bet that halfway through the battle pass, we're almost at the halfway point, right?
Mm.
I think they're going to release.
We're just 2 weeks in. We're just 2 weeks in. out of
That's
it.
almost the halfway point because this is only an 8-week battle pass. So in another 2 weeks time, we're gonna see the level bundles that we can purchase, which we're gonna like a lot of us are gonna inevitably purchase because you can't grind this battle pass as a free to play, not this time.
It's the only way.
Yeah, they're really preying really, really hard on that feeling of FOMO. So when it comes to that sort of thing, like with the feeling of missing out, like how do you guys get around it? How do you circumvent the feeling of knowing that you're gonna miss out on all of these exclusive cosmetics and all these cool particle effects and stuff that you can use during the season? Like, what do you guys usually do to deal with it?
Yeah, it's nice to have money and stable income because that's the most direct way you can deal with the FOMO is just to buy into it. But even then, I bought the level 100 battle pass, but it makes me feel guilty spending that much money and not playing the game. So, again, the concept of sulit, hindi ko nasusulit yung battle pass ko because I don't get to play Dota a lot recently because of work. And I just have to remember that sunk cost is sunk cost, and no matter how much money I spend on a game, shouldn't necessitate that I should match it with the same number of hours of my day to spend on it. I already spent my money on it, and I shouldn't feel compelled to spend the same time on it. I should be happy with what I already got and prioritize the right things in life.
Yeah, for me, one of the ways that I go around FOMO is that the first thing I have to really hammer into my head is that these are all cosmetics for the large majority of these games. Actually, pretty much all of them, because like we mentioned earlier, both Genshin and R6 have a way around the gameplay implications of their battle passes. These are, at the end of the day, these are all cosmetics. They're not really going to help me improve at the game. They're not going to drastically improve my gameplay or mechanical experience of it. Although they will maybe help out with immersion, or they'll help me out because it feels good to look good in the game. But they don't really affect the way that I play, and I can play the game just fine without them. So that's like the main way that I get around it.
For me, I was able to rationalize my FOMO for this battle pass by just setting realistic goals. Usually I buy a battle pass and then I usually stop super grinding for it or buying any levels once I get the terrain. So this time, since I resolved to buy it at level 1, my only goal is to get the entry mortal, right? So that's basically, I can get it at level 1 if I'm lucky. So for me, all I really need, I usually set smaller goals for battle pass, because I know I play too many video games to be able to dedicate my life to only one.
I actually like that, setting realistic expectations. It's somehow how Q also thought about the battle pass. That's why he didn't buy the Nemestis battle pass, right? Because he knows he's not gonna be able to get the Spectre Arcana anyway. And I think setting yourself up for with a realistic expectation will prevent you from spending money unwantedly on the game, right? Because now you know that you can only get 80 levels. Then right from the start, you can plan out like, okay, how much time would I spend on this game? How much money would I spend on this game? And there and then you'd be able to decide, okay, how much effort would I spend on this battle pass? And it really helps you control the playtime you spend and the money you spend on the game. Because if you didn't plan it out and you were planning to get the Spectre Arcana without knowing that you only get 80 free levels after all, then you'll get to level 80 and then the battle pass would be expiring in the next 2 weeks, for example, and you're still so far away from your goal. It really pressures you to spend money to get that Spectre Arcana because that's the goal that you set yourself for. And you're setting yourself up for failure if you're not having realistic expectations for yourself in the battle pass. So I think that's a really good advice, Cal, and Q, because you also mentioned it in some way or another earlier.
So, just some of my own closing thoughts on the Battle Pass, like my 2 cents on Battle Pass systems in general, is that I definitely think that they were a better direction for the industry to go compared to really just heavily relying on loot boxes, especially these seasonal loot boxes like Overwatch used to do, where you could only purchase them throughout the season and they would contain completely exclusive skins. Battle Passes give us more focus and more of a way for us to really understand what we're spending our money on, and it gives us a little bit of a goal to drive forward to. But at the same time, we have to I think that especially developers on the developer side, they have to realize that we're not trying to play games. Like for the large majority of us, we don't play games as work, and I don't want to feel burned out at a game because I feel like I'm forced to add it to my daily routine because I have to, because of the battle pass. Like I get that you want player attention, I get that you need the money, but at the same time, it might just end up going the other way, because if you're forcing us to play the game so often, like because we can't miss out on it, it might just end up burning us out and make us play the game less, right? Or maybe like, it might just be me, but that's the way that I see it. Because when I complete my Apex Battle Pass, and it's that one's one of the easier ones. It's really easy because remember, like I mentioned earlier, I missed like 40 days one season. I still finished it, but I still burn out so easily on it. And I'll stop for weeks on end until I feel like playing again, just because I felt like I was forced into playing the game a certain way that I didn't want to, all for cosmetics because of the fear of missing out.
Yep. For me, my final thoughts. I really like the idea of the battle passes being retroactive. Like I hope a lot more developers try to implement that, because that means every time that I play, I can just decide on getting the battle pass later on and then still get the rewards, right? So like I've been gaining progress on it without having to like super grind when it comes out. But in general, I just hope companies implement less predatory practices. Like, please let us, like, I like that the loot boxes in like the Dota 2 Battle Pass show us what we're getting, but I really don't like that there's so many seasonal rewards now. So I think they should hit a better balance between these rewards. What else? I really don't think we can tell them to stop making battle passes in general because it's so effective. So I feel like inching closer to a better balance is the only thing we can ask from them.
So yeah, please let us enjoy your new content without spending so much money. Thank you. That'll be really appreciated.
Yep. So I think that's it for tonight. Thank you for listening to Off Cooldown. We'll see you next time, and you can catch us on all the major podcast platforms, Facebook and Twitter, and on YouTube. So thank you.
See you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.